Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Karnananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Satchidananda Jagat Guru Bal Yugiraj Sai Narayan Maharaj Ki Jai. Sai Lilavati Mata Ki Jai. Chapter 4 of Sai Satcharitra, Sai Baba's First Advent in Shirdi. Mission of Saints, Shirdi a holy teeth, personality of Sai Baba, dictum of Goli Baba Bua, appearance of Vitthal, Shir Sagar's story, Das Ganu's bath in Prayag, immaculate conception of Sai Baba and his first advent in Shirdi, three vadas. In the last chapter, I described the circumstances which led me to write Sai Satcharitra. Let me know. Describe the first advent of Sai Baba in Shirdi. Mission of the Saints. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, 7-8 verse that whenever there is a decay of dharma, righteousness, and an ascendancy of unrighteousness, I manifest myself for the protection of the virtues and the destruction of the vicious. And for the establishment of righteousness, I manifest myself age after age. This is the mission of the Lord and the sages and the saints who are his representatives and who appear at appropriate times and work in their own way to fulfill that mission. For instance, when the twice born, that is, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, neglect their duties, and when the Shudras try to usurp the duties of other classes, when spiritual perceptors are not respected but humiliated, when nobody cares for religious instructions, and when everybody thinks himself very learned, and people begin to partake of forbidden foods and intoxicating drinks, when under the cloak of religion people indulge in malpractices, when people belonging to different sects fight against amongst themselves, when Brahmins fail to do sandhya adoration and the orthodox leave their religious practices, when yogis neglect their meditation, when people begin to think that wealth, progeny, wife are their sole concern, and thus turn away from the true path of salvation, then saints appear and try to set matters at right path by their words and actions. They serve as us as beacon lights and shows us the path and the right way for us to follow. In this way, many saints, that is Nivruti, Dhyandev, Muktabai, Namdev, Goda, Gonai, Eknath, Tukaram, Narhari, Narsimbai, Sajan, Kasai, Savata, Ramdas, and various others did appear at various times to show the right path to the people, and so the present Advent came as Shirdi Sai Baba of Shirdi. Shirdi, a holy teeth. The banks of the Godavari River in the Ahmednagar district are the very fortunate, for they gave birth and refuge to many saints. Prominent amongst them being Dhaneshwar. Shirdi also falls in the Kopargaon Taluka of the Ahmednagar district. After crossing the Godavari River at Kopargaon, one gets the way to Shirdi. When you go to 3 course, 9 miles, you come to Nimgaon, from where Shirdi is visible. Shirdi is famous and well known as other holy places like Gangapur, Nisihamwadi, Audambar on the banks of Krishna River. As the devotee Damoji flourished and blessed Mangalveda near Pandharpur, as Samarth Ramdas at Sajjangarh, as Sri Narsimha Saraswati at Saraswati Wadi, so Sainath flourished as Shirdi and blessed it. Personality of Sai Baba. It is on account of Shri Sai Baba that Shirdi grew in importance. Let us see what sort of the personage Sai Baba was. He conquered this sansar worldly existence, which is very difficult and hard to cross. Peace or mental calm was his ornament, and he was a repository of the wisdom. He was a home of Vaishnava devotees most generous like Karna. Amongst all, the quintessence of all essence, he had no love for perishable things and was always engrossed in self-realization, which was his sole concern. He felt no pleasure in the things of this world or for the world beyond. His answering heart was as clear as the mirror, and his speech always rained nectar. The rich or the poor people were the same to him. He neither knew nor cared for honor or dishonor. He was the lord of all beings. He spoke freely and mixed with all people, watched the actings and the dances of nautch girls, and heard ghazal songs. Still, he swerved not an inch from samadhi, mental equilibrium. The name of the Allah was always on his lips. While the world awoke, he slept, and while the world slept, he was vigilant. His abdomen inside was as calm as the deep sea. His ashram could not be determined, nor his actions could be definitely determined, and though he sat lived in one place, he knew all the transactions of the world. His darbar was imposing. He told daily hundreds of stories. Still he swayed not an inch from his vow of silence. He always learned against he always learned against the wall in the masjid or walked morning, noon, and the evening towards Lemli, Nala, and the Chowri. Still, he at all times abided in the self. Though a Siddha, he acted like a sadhaka. He was meek, humble, and egoless, and pleased all. Such was Sai Baba. And as the soil of Shirdi was trodden by Sai Baba's feet, it attained extraordinary importance as Dhaneshwar elevated Alandi. Eknath did not Paithan, did to Paithan. So Sai Baba raised Shirdi, blessed are the grass, leaves, and the stones of Shirdi, for they could kiss the holy feet of Sai Baba and take his dust on their head. Shirdi became to us devotees. Another Pandharpur, Jagannath Dwarka, Banaras, Kashi, Rameshwar, Badri, Kedar, Nasik, Trimbakeshwar, Mahakaleshwar, Mahabaleshwar, Gokarna, contact of Sai Baba in Shirdi, was like our study of Vedanta Tantra. It quietened our sansar world consciousness and rendered self-realization. The darshan of Sri Sai was our yoga sadhana, and the talk with him removed our sins. Shampooing his legs was our bath in the Triveni, Prayag, and drinking the holy water of his feet destroyed our sins to us. His commands were Vedas, and accepting eating his udi, sacred ash, and prasad was all purifying. He was our Sri Krishna and Sri Rama, who gave us solace, and he was our Par Brahma, absolute reality. He was himself beyond the pair of dvandvas, opposites. Never dejected nor elated, he was always engrossed in himself. As existence, knowledge, and bliss, Shri was his center, but his field of action extended far beyond to Punjab, Calcutta, North India, Gujarat, Dhaka, now in Bangladesh, and Konkan. Thus, the fame of Sai Baba spread far and wide, and the people from all parts came to take his darshan and be blessed by mere darshan. Minds of the people were pure or impure would become quiet at once. They got here the same unparalleled joy that devotees get at Pandharpur by seeing Vitthal Raghumai. This is not an exaggeration. Consider what a devotee says in this respect. Dictum of Golipur. An old devotee by name Golipur, aged about 95 years, was an Varkari of Pandari. He stayed 8 months at Pandharpur and 4 months Ashad to Kartik, July to November on the banks of the Ganges. He had an ass with him for carrying his luggage, and disciple as his companion. Every year he had his wari or a trip to Pandharpur and came to Shirdi to see Sai Baba, whom he loved most. He used to stare at Baba and says, "This is the Pandarinath Vittal incarnate, the merciful Lord of the poor and the helpless." This Golipua was an old devotee of Vithoba and had made many trips to Pandari, and he testified that Sai Baba was a real Pandarinath. Vittal himself appeared. Sai Baba was very fond of remembering and singing God's name. He always uttered Allah Malik, God is Lord, and his presence made others sing God's name continuously, day and night, for all 7 days of the week. This is called Naam Saptaha. Once he asked Das Guru Maharaj to do the Naam Saptaha. He replied that he would do it provided he was assured that Vittal would appear at the end of the seventh day. Then Baba, placing his hand on his chest, assured him that certainly Vittal would appear, but for that the devotee must be earnest and devout. The Dhanka Puri Thakur of the Thakurnath and the Pandari of the Vittal, the Dwarka of the Ranchor Krishna, is here, Shirdi. One need not go far out to see Dwarka. Is Vittal come here from some outside place? He is here. Only when the devotee is bursting with love and the devotion, Vittal will manifest himself here, Shirdi. After the Saptaha was over, Vittal did manifest himself in the following manner. Kakasab Dikshit was as usual sitting in the meditation of the bath, and he saw Vittal in the vision. When he went at noon for Baba's darshan, Baba asked him point blank, "Did Vittal Patil come? Did you see him? He's very truant fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he will escape, even if you are a little inattentive." This happened in the morning, and at the noon there was another vision, another Vittal darshan. One hawker came there for selling 25 to 30 pictures of Vitubam. This picture exactly tallied with the figure that appeared in the Kaka Sahib's vision. On seeing this and remembering Baba's words, Kaka Sahib Dikshit was much surprised and delighted. He bought one picture of Vituba and placed it in his shrine for worship. Bhagwant Rao Srisagar's story. How fond was Baba for Vittal worship was illustrated in the Bhagwant Rao Srisagar's story. The father of the Bhagwant Rao was a devotee of Vittuba and used to make wadis annual trips to the Pandharpur. He also had an image of Vittuba at home, which he worshipped. After his death. The son stopped everything, the wadi, the worship and the Shraddha ceremony, etc. When Bhagwant Rao came to the Shirdi, Baba, remembering his father at once, his father was my friend, so I dragged him, the son, here. He never offered the offering of food. So he started Vittal and me. So he starved Vittal and me. So I brought him here. I shall remonstrate him now and set him to worship. Das Ganu's bath in Prayag. The Hindus think that a bath in the holy Tirtha of Prayag, where the Ganga of the Yamuna and the Yamuna meet, is very meritorious, and the thousands of pilgrims go there at periodical times to have the second bath there. Once Dasganu thought that he should go to Prayag for a bath and came to Shruti to get his permission for doing so. Baba replied to him, "It is not necessary to go so far. Our Prayag is here, believe me." The wonder of wonders, when Dasganu placed his head on Baba's feet, out flowed streams of Ganga Yamuna water from both the toes of Baba. Seeing this miracle, Dasganu was overwhelmed with feelings of love and adoration and was full of tears. Inwardly, he felt inspired and his speech burst forth into the song in praise of Baba and his Leelas. Immaculate conception of Baba, Sai Baba and his first advent in Shirdi. Nobody knew the parents' birth or birthplace of Sai Baba. Many inquiries were made. Many questions were put to Baba and others regarding these items, but no satisfactory answer or information has yet been obtained. Practically, we know nothing about these matters. Namdev and the Kabir were not born like ordinary mortals. They were found in his infant in mother of pearls. Namdev being found on the bank of Bhimrati river by Gonai, and the Kabir on the bank of Bhagirathi river by Tamalo. Similar was the case with the Sai Baba. He first manifested himself as a young lad of 16 years and under a neem tree in Shirdi. For the sake of Bhaktas, even then, he seemed to be full with the knowledge of Brahman. He had no desire for worldly objects even in the dreams. He kicked out Maya and Mukti. Deliverance was the serving at his feet. One old woman of Shirdi, the mother of the Nana Chobdar, described him as this young lad, very smart and very handsome. has first seen under the neem tree seated in an asana. The people of the village were wonderstruck to see such a young lad practicing hard penance, not minding heat and cold. By day he associated with none, by night he was afraid of nobody. People were wondering and asking whence this young chap had turned up. His form and features were so beautiful that a mere look and adhered him to all. He went to nobody's door, always sat near the neem tree. Outwardly he looked at ever very young, but by his action he was a really great soul. He was the embodiment of this passion and was an enigma to all. One day it so happened that God Khandoma possessed the body of some devotee, and people began to ask him, Deva, God, you please inquire that best father son is this lad, and whence did he come? God Khandoma asked them to bring a pick, axe, and dig in a particular place. When it was a dig, bricks were found underneath and a flat stone. When the stone was removed, a corridor was seen in which four samais, diyas, light, were burning. The corridor led to the cellar where cow mouths shaped structures, wooden boats, rosaries were seen. Khandova said, this lad practiced penance here for 12 years. Then the people began to question the lad about this. He put them off the scene by telling them that this was his guru's place, his holy watan, and requested them to guard this well. The people then closed the corridor as before, and the ashwatha and the onumber trees were held as sacred. Baba regarded this neem tree equally sacred and loved it most. Malsapati and other Shirdi devotees regarded the site as a resting place, Samadhi Sthan of Baba's Guru, and prostrate before it. Three vadas, the site with the neem tree and the surrounding space, was bought by Mr. Hari Vinayak Sati, and on the site a big building style Sati's Vada was erected. This Vada was the sole resting place of the pilgrims who flocked there. A barred platform was built around the neem tree, and the loft with the steps were constructed. Under the steps there is a niche facing south, and the devotees sit on the barred platform facing north. It is a belief that he who burns incense there on the Thursday and the Friday evenings will, by God's grace, be happy. The Vada was old and dilapidated and needed repairs. Then the necessary repairs, additions, and the alterations have been made now by the Sansthan. Then years, after some years, another Vada, Dikshit Vada, was constructed. Kakasaheb Dikshit, solicitor of the Mumbai, had gone to the England. He had injured his leg in an accident. There, the injury could not be got rid of by any means. Nana Sahib Chandorkar advised him to see Sai Baba, so he went to the Sai Baba in 1909 and requested him to cure the lameness of his mind rather than that of his leg. He was so much pleased with the darshan of the Sai Baba that he decided to reside in Shirdi, so he built a vada for himself and other devotees. The foundation of this building was laid on 10th December 1910. On this day, the two other important events took place. The Dada Sahib Khapar Day was given permission to return home, and the night Aarti at the Chawdi was started. The Vada was completed and was inhabited on the Ram Navami Day in 1911 with due rites and formalities. Then another Vada or a palatial mansion was put up by the famous millionaire Mr. Booty of Nagpur. Lots of money was spent on this building, but all the amount was well utilized as Sai Baba's body is resting in this Vada, which is now called the Samadhi Mandir. The site of the Mandir formerly had a garden which was watered and looked after by Baba. Three Vadas thus came up where there was none formerly of these Satis Vada was most useful to all. In the early days, the studio of the garden which was attended by Sai Baba with the help of Vaman Tatya, the temporary absence of Sai Baba from Shirdi, and is coming again to Shirdi with the marriage party of the Chand Patil and the company of Devi Das, Janaki Das, Ganga Gir Baba's wrestling match with Muhyiddin Tamboli residing in the masjid, love of Mr. Dengle, and other devotees and other incidents will be described in the next chapter. Woe to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Nath Maharaj ki jai. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Karnananda Maharaj ki jai. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Jagat Guru Bal Yogiraj Sai Narayan Maharaj ki jai. Sai Leelavati Mata ki jai. Om Sai.